We're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's Substack Live. I'm so happy to have you here. Happy Monday to everybody. I am here with my friend Michelle Kinney, who everybody by now hopefully should know because we do so many shows together.
Can't get
from
rid
the-
of me.
Yeah, from the Mayday Media Network. And I'm so happy to say that I have my dear, dear, dear friend, Katie Brennan, who is I don't even know how to describe her because there's so many things you could say about her. But for the purposes of this conversation, Katie Brennan is running for General Assembly in New Jersey. For those of you who know where Jersey City and Hoboken are in New Jersey, right across the river from New York City, that is where Katie is running to represent. But Katie, I wanted to welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this idea that Katie had, which I thought was brilliant. And I thought maybe most of us should know about it. All of us should know about it so we could speak to our own legislators wherever we may be across the United States to talk about how to take on the censorship that is being foisted upon us, not by just Donald Trump and his administration, but really by these corporations, these giant entities that own our corporate media. So, Katie, you had this great idea as to how states, if they're willing, especially blue states, can fight back against Disney. What did you propose?
I proposed that we use the leverage we have, which is take back all the money we're giving them. People
Yes.
love to do this like hand wringing and waving our fists. New Jersey alone has an $800 million film and tax credit program. And so they're giving out tens of millions of dollars to these very same networks that are engaging in censorship. And so we just need to take it back. It's like the state equivalent of canceling your Disney Plus Hulu subscription.
Right. It's interesting that you say this. Have any other states done this, or has anybody talked about this, or is this just something you came up?
I have not seen other people pull it back yet. There are other states that have
Yeah.
large film and TV tax credits, and so I'd certainly encourage them to explore it.
It's interesting because I guess the argument that I would hear from people, I haven't spoken to anybody in New Jersey about this, but I guess the argument would be if we did this, then Disney might go to New York or Disney might go to Atlanta or Disney might go somewhere else where states give out tax credits. So I guess the real question is, does it matter? Like, how many jobs are these people creating in New Jersey, for instance, right? And is it enough to say, okay, Disney, you're going to do this, we're going to pull it. And hopefully New York would follow suit because Disney, I mean, I just know from doing ABC News, Disney just built this incredible complex down in Soho in Manhattan for people
Really?
who know. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, it's their headquarters. It's right. It's like, it is the best part of town.
Wow.
And I can only imagine how much money the state of New York and the city of New York gave Disney for this incredible, when I say incredible, like you go to CNN or you go to MSNBC and it's nice, but it's nothing compared to what Disney has built. And it's like, I literally think it's called the Bob Iger building or something. I'm not even joking.
Of course it is. Good
And
Lord.
yeah. And to me, like, great. I'm glad Disney was able to do this. I'm sure it created a lot of construction jobs. I'm sure, I know it creates a lot of jobs here in New York. But why is New York City, and for that matter, New Jersey, why are they paying subsidies to people who are basically engaging in censorship, Katie? Like, that's the argument. It's not about jobs. It's not about money. Like, we're past that. This is about democracy, right?
Right. And I think that we are past that. And even if we weren't, I think that we have a lot of leverage here because there's so much to be said about, I don't want to get in the weeds of this, but the kind of topography that we have in New Jersey, how much of where I live looks a lot like New York. And so there's tons of movies that are filmed here that are supposed to be Brooklyn or the Lower East Side or wherever else. So it's not that easy for them to just go, especially given some of the contracts we already have in place. And similarly, there's sound stages in Jersey City and in Bayonne and in South Jersey, and they're building like a huge Netflix complex in the former Fort Monmouth. So they're putting in a lot of investment here, and I would say have an incentive to get it right. And it's It's also not a totally new idea, right? Like, I think even in a redder state like Georgia, remember the conversation about bathroom bills and all of that? They threatened to
Yeah.
business it was almost reverse of businesses then were saying, "Well, we're not gonna go to Louisiana or we're not gonna go to Georgia." And you why don't we hear people doing it the other direction of, "No, if you want our money, you you need to stop engaging in censorship."
Yeah, Michelle, you worked in this industry. I mean, Michelle
Yeah, a little
is
bit.
the former actress here. So,
Long
I
time ago. I just want to be
um,
very clear about that. Very
but
long
but
time ago.
I do like it's an interesting concept, right, Michelle? Because we all talked.
Oh yeah.
We did a live yesterday, just saying we're all going to cancel our Disney subscriptions. I think you already
Mhm.
did, and so many people on the chat were like, "I already canceled mine." It was like,
Yeah. Listen, and it killed me. But like, I mean, it didn't, it didn't kill me. But there's very few things in this very dark world that we're living in that bring us joy. And only murders in the building on Hulu is like one of those things. And to give this up, it like hurts my soul. So, but like, not to be dramatic here, but I'm going to be a little dramatic. Like the things are really bad, and it's like if you do not sacrifice these small comforts for the greater good and for the future of our lives, our kids, our grandkids, like I don't know what to tell people. I mean, these are the kinds of things that you have to give up, and these things add up. And looking at, yes, Georgia, Tyler Perry has this huge conglomerate studio in Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte has a pretty extensive film industry for North Carolina. Um and yeah, I mean I would hope New York does. I mean Kathy Hochul has been kind of, showing her teeth a little bit more lately, which has been nice, but New York does. New York, we give a lot away to the film industry. There is an entire office. I think it's like if you have over a $500,000 of labor, on your project, I think you can get up to 10% of tax credit or something like that. But and it's the same thing that we don't want people to go and take their film and TV shows to Toronto, right? We want people to
Mhm,
film in the United States.
mhm.
Um, but I mean, we can't be giving this stuff away for them to just keep getting richer and richer and richer so that they can take our rights away. Like, it really is that black and white.
Right, right,
You know what I mean?
and it's like you and everyone who was saying that they cancel my husband and I had this exact conversation last night, like, "Oh, there's new Only Murders in the Building," and then we're like, "Oh my
I
god, we have to
know.
cancel our subscription."
well,
It's
my
the
friend,
only thing makes me happy. But it's true. It's true.
how about this? How about having a son who is doing like 27 fantasy football leagues on ESPN,
Well,
which are all
Julie,
hosted
it's
by
funny
Disney
you say
Plus.
this. Sorry,
Yes.
not to change the subject here, but I mean, well, not yeah, yeah, I'm not actually. So my husband, same as is like fantasy football, fantasy
Yeah.
Premier League, fantasy this. So I cancel the Hulu, the Disney, and the ESPN, which was all under his email
Yeah.
address. And I get this angry text from him on Saturday afternoon. What did you do? I'm fine not paying for this anymore, but you deleted my
That's exactly what
fantasy
that is the
football teams.
conversation that I'm having.
Oh, no. So he had to go back in, redo the thing, switch the email. So it was a whole thing. But like, okay, he can keep that, but everything else, like, we're not doing
Isn't
it.
that yeah, so I guess, like, Katie, because 'cause you're running, and
Mhm,
I gotta say that I know what the response is gonna be. Like, I can almost verbatim tell you what the response is gonna be. The response is gonna be, "How dare you
Mm,
take money away from people who are this is creating jobs, and how dare you take their jobs away and their money away, and this is about real people that you're representing." And my answer to this is, actually, it's about, like, we're past that. We're at the
yeah, it's
democracy
way bigger than that for
we're at the
sure.
democracy stage of our lives here, and the reality is, like, either Disney continues to pay them, or these other industries continue to pay them, or they pull out,
mhm.
and they pull out. But I mean, like, why if that's the argument, we should be subsidizing every industry, everywhere. Why are we subsidizing this particular industry that is taking away our rights?
Totally.
Right?
You get the same argument with any kind of change, whether it's, like pumping coal into the air or whatever it
Yeah.
is. It's always like, well, what about it? It's like, well, then put the money towards something that's better and those jobs. And by the way,
Mhm.
it's not, if you want to talk about jobs, it's not just Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert, who,
Right.
by the way, is a New Jersey resident, but it's the hundreds of thousands of people who work on those
Exactly.
shows. They're the
Exactly.
ones who are not going to be able to make the rent or put food on the table. But I just there's just this utter learned helplessness, it seems like, whether
Mhm.
it's this or any other issue of we are obeying in advance. That's how I feel. We're obeying Trump in advance and we're just saying, like, yeah, do what you will to us. Like, there's nothing we can do
Right.
over here. And we keep acting like we have no power at all. It's infuriating.
And I also feel like a lot of times, and I get so frustrated about with our leaders in Washington who Michelle and I have been banging the drum, voted most Democrats voted to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy,
Mhm,
which but I get so frustrated because it's like, well, this is the way it's always been, right? Well, of course we have to subsidize these industries because we have to bring in these jobs. It's always the way it's been. Of course we have to, as you said, subsidize coal. Of course we have to subsidize these ridiculous billion-dollar stadiums.
right.
All of this stuff. And the answer is like we are past this moment in our
Yep.
history where we're talking about little bits of things here, little bits of this things there. Like we're at I keep saying this is Berlin 1933. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
make your choice. Make
Berlin, which had a thriving arts community and LGBT,
Right.
Q community at the time, and it all got decimated by the Nazi regime. And like, here's another thing is, my husband actually, let me open this New York Times this morning. The Broadway musical is in trouble.
Mhm.
It's the arts community, the arts industry in general is in trouble because the art and commerce argument, first of all, it takes like a bajillion dollars to do anything now. But then there's also this other layer of nobody wants to come to America anymore
Mhm.
to see a show or to do anything like that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Katie, it's like it's all the other people. It's everybody else. It's craft services. It's the casting directors. It's the PAs. It's the camera people. It's there
Mhm.
are so many people, but at the same time, it's like I think of that line from the movie Don't Look Up about the asteroid, and Jennifer Lawrence goes home to see her parents that looks, she looks like she's from like probably Detroit or something, and her parents lock the door and they say, "You can't come in, no politics here." And she's like, "What?" And they're like, "Your father and I are for the jobs that the comet will provide." And I think about that all the time. Like this comet is coming at the planet, and they've told this lie that the comet is going to provide rare minerals and jobs for Americans. And they buy the lie and they support the comet, coming at the planet that's gonna kill us all. And that is just such an incredible example, and I think about it all the time, Gretchen Whitmer, right? In my opinion, having Donald Trump into her state and giving him a big hug and the whole thing, and I'm like, "At what cost? At what cost?" I mean, and this is where I'm like, Katie, I'd love to know what you think. I mean, just going out in your community and talking to people, do you feel that there is a collective galvanizing energy that people are understanding what's going on, or like is there something else that's going to happen for people to come together and understand like we're all going to have to sacrifice some more comforts here?
Yeah, yes and no, because it is, we almost joke about it just to get through the day of,
Sure.
yeah, we are this close from state-run media. We are
Mhm.
this close from complete and utter control by the Bob Igers of the world, and just you see it on TikTok, you see everyone talking about, well, they're squashing the algorithm, and they're doing all this, you know, the folks that I know that are engaged are seeing things and are saying things about, like, there was something that went kind of viral a few weeks ago, and I promise this has a point, and it was the most, like, mundane little flower photo drawing, and it
Mm.
said, "Immigrants are great," or something like that, and Instagram was showing it as sensitive content, to anybody who shared it. Yes, it was like a little cutesy drawing, and every time it popped up, it would be blurred out and it said sensitive content. And so then a ton of people started sharing it to be like, this is what we're talking about, of like feeds and algorithms and everything being completely squashed if it's like left at
Yeah.
all. I mean, that's terrifying. So that I see galvanizing. And then on the
Mhm.
flip side, whether it's this or anything else, when people are like, stop talking about it, or I cannot understand how people don't get that we are talking about
Yeah,
their real democracy. But think that, speaking as someone who is running as a Democrat, have
right.
really shot ourselves in the foot,
Mhm.
because if we weren't willing to talk about, yeah, Jersey City and Hoboken staring at New York, you
Yep.
can't afford to pay your rent. The train is
Mhm.
like
Yeah. Right.
barely functional at
Right.
best, and it used to be great, and you can't afford your groceries. And if we can't just talk about those things and admit those things and admit that we
Mhm.
screwed up and we need to be talking about you just getting through the day, then we've completely lost faith and we've lost everyone's trust. And that is what I think is very difficult, is that,
Yeah.
and where you get to this sort of, well, they're all bad, or, oh, I'm opting out
Mm.
mentality, and like really bums me out.
Hmm.
I mean, I gotta say this. It is incredible to me that more politicians don't speak the way you just did, because it's so self-evident, right? What's
Mm.
self-evident is people are screwed, like, we just are. We're just screwed for like, on a day-to-day life. We're screwed in the sense that, as you said, just getting through the day is expensive, it's exhausting, it is terrifying, and then when you get
Mhm.
home and you turn on the TV, you're like, "Holy shit, I can't even watch Jimmy Fallon or Jon Stewart, who's probably gonna go next,
Mm.
or Stephen Colbert soon, because they don't want me to." And people who are in TikTok, bad news for you, guess who's about to buy TikTok?
Yep.
Oh, I know.
Rupert
People are
Murdoch.
not ready for
Yeah,
that.
people are not ready for this. Rupert Murdoch, Larry Ellison, and probably Musk is gonna have a stake in it, and a whole host of Trump supporters who are going to throttle this algorithm so hard that not only is it going to be impossible for you to see content that you want to see, but more relevantly, they will probably collect content that you're creating that they don't like, put it in some database, which Elon Musk already has,
Right.
and then come for you. Like, I know this sounds completely insane, but you
No,
guys,
it doesn't though.
I've been saying
It
this for
doesn't.
years. We are in Berlin 1933. It didn't start with the bad
Right.
stuff immediately. It started with the Jews. It started with people who were gay. Here, it's starting with undocumented. It's starting with the transgender community. But it's not gonna stop with them. It's gonna come for all of us, just so you know. And for our politicians to sit there and be like, "Well, I don't know. We've never done it this way. I mean, we always give tax subsidies to
Adapt.
corporations."
Adapt.
Yeah, like what Katie just said. What Katie just said is so self-evident to me that I don't understand why there's not every single person out there, especially Democrats, are going out there and saying, "You know what? Life fucking sucks. Sorry, Dad. Life sucks right now." And yeah, Katie, on the show, whenever I curse, we have to apologize to my dad because
Yep, yep.
he
He
thinks it's
doesn't
very
like it.
he doesn't like it. It's very
Sorry, Julie's
unladylike.
dad.
Yeah, sorry,
Sorry,
Julie's dad.
Julie's dad.
Um, everybody knows in the audience you have to apologize to my dad, but it's true. It's true. Like, why aren't more people going out there and saying, I don't really care about the next election because I'm not even sure there's going to be a next election that's particularly fair. I just want to express in the starkest 30-second terms, the way you just did, Katie, about what is going on with our life right now. And by
Mhm.
the way, maybe we shouldn't think about the jobs that Disney has created or not created. Maybe we should think about creating jobs ourselves and
Mhm.
not relying on companies that throttle democratic speech to do that.
That
Right, that
part.
you're just at
Right?
the whim. We just named like 3 or 4 different companies that you're just totally at the whim of. Okay, you wanna go for
Yes.
TikTok? Great, well, now Rupert Murdoch bought it and boop, you're out.
Yep.
Okay, ABC does this, boop, you're out. Yeah, we we really need to take some agency, and I every single point along this journey from whether like even before Joe Biden dropped out and all these things, like this is the moment. This is the moment they're going to realize it's different now and we have to be different. And I just am continuously disappointed and have people saying things to me like I no joke have had kind of more old school politicians say things to me like, well, you
Mm.
can't really say that about
Oh,
other.
really? I
Yes.
can't?
Yeah. And I'm like, if I
Why
can't say that X is bad, like literally, what are we even doing here? What are we even
Also,
doing?
like,
why
I'm
are they
sorry.
self-censoring you? Like, why are they self-censoring you? Self-censoring you? Like, why
Because
are
they
they
don't
asking
want
you
to
to
piss
self-censor?
off whatever, like, boss they have that somewhere. It really is like that. It's
You can't really say that. Really? Let's go through the list of
and it's
things
and it's
that
really benign things. It's like
yeah.
what I just said about like the train.
Oh my
Like,
god.
Why? Well, let me tell you why, by the way. My supposition, the existing governor of New Jersey, parentheses Democrat, Phil Murphy, said that he was gonna fix New Jersey Transit, which runs the trains, and I quote, "If it like, even if
if
it
it
kills
kills
me,
me.
if it kills me." He's still alive, and as Katie pointed out, New Jersey Transit is not really that much alive, and I
Bill
can speak
Murphy, what a guy.
and
What a
and I can
guy.
and I can speak to this from personal experience because my husband takes New Jersey Transit to work every day and then comes home in such a bad mood every
Yeah.
night that he
Yeah.
basically has to drink half a bottle of vodka. I'm just kidding. So like, so
Ah,
like, calm down. And I'm joking about that part, but
yeah.
like, he does need a drink to calm down. And like, it's you can't say that, Katie, because you're going to offend the Democratic governor who's a member of your own party. Who gives a rat's ass? Like, people, when they get on the train, don't care who the governor is, what party he is. They just want to
No.
get home to
Want
their
it better.
families. Like, period.
They just want it
Right?
better.
Yeah.
They want somewhere that is less physically less than a mile away. Should not
Yes.
take. It's right
That's the thing
there.
about New Jersey. I mean, because I live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and like, I have friends in Jersey City. I have friends in Hoboken. I'd love
Mhm.
to see them more, but it is such an ordeal to get there because of the trains, because of the path or the bus. I mean, going to Port Authority is like, oh my god, and it's like, it would be nice if the PATH train was a little more functional.
And
You
it
know what I
used to be.
mean?
That's the thing. It's like even in the time that I've lived in Jersey City, which is since 2013,
Mm.
it used to be better. We are
Yeah,
now running less frequently than we did at the turn of the century.
that's
I like
crazy.
that's
This
just
century,
facts.
I was like, yes, this
No,
century,
like
right?
not like 2000.
Yeah,
um, yeah. And so it,
yeah.
it absolutely could be better, but that just shows me the depths of how far people have gone to try and protect themselves from the
Mhm.
reality that's coming. And you saw that in our race too. So there was, you know, too long didn't read. New Jersey had a ballot that was basically gerrymandered and was thrown out as unconstitutional last year, and and it was really the first time we had a super competitive primary, like
Mm.
ever, and that was a shakeup for some people. And as Julie said at the very top, like I was not supposed to win and I was outspent by $1 million. And but I do think that it's a sign, if nothing
Mhm.
else, of yes, busted my ass and yes, I've been really involved in the community and yes, all of that. But I also think it's a sign that people are just like so tired. So tired.
Yes.
And I think they're looking for somebody to basically take them out of the wilderness, which is where we find
Yeah.
ourselves right now. And I'll say that as just I've worked in politics my whole life, but I'll say that as just an American and a voter whose member of Congress voted for this Charlie Kirk resolution. And, you know, uh, to me, that resolution was about a lot more. We talked about this than just the resolution. It's a non-binding vote. It's a non-binding resolution. And people are like, what's the big deal? It's not binding because it's a values statement. And it's a statement of intent to me. It really is a statement of intent. Like, do you intend to stand up to these people or are you going to be cowed by them? And
Yeah.
to me, I know this because I see polling all the time. And pollsters, always say that Democratic voters consistently say, we want somebody who's going to work with the other side rather than somebody who's going to just
I
destroy the
who
other
like
side.
who's saying that though?
But I
Tell me
mean, like,
who's
let me
saying.
tell you something. Ideally, they're not asking the right questions. Ideally, in a perfect
Yeah.
world, yes, that would be true. I would love a kumbaya moment where we all come together. But you guys, you can't work with the other side when the other side doesn't want to work with you. It's kind of like, ideally, I would have loved to have dated John Hamm back in the early 2000s. He did not want to date me. In fact, he didn't even know who I was. And so my point is, that's how Democrats are treating Republicans. Like, ideally, we'd like to work with these guys. Meanwhile, those guys don't even know who you are. And if they knew who you were, they hate you. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like, well,
look at
speaking
what
of
Trump
John
said.
Hamm, it's
Yeah.
the scene where he's in the elevator and he goes, "I feel bad for you," and Don Draper says, "I don't think about you at
I
all."
don't think
Oh,
about
And
you at
that's
all.
yes.
exactly what's happening here
Yes.
because they don't care. And that's the other thing is like I think that people have a really hard time, and I say people as in like Democrats in leadership have a very, very hard time believing or accepting that MAGA is who they are. I think it's hard for people to wrap their mind around the fact that, like, nothing they're doing is in good faith.
Right.
Nothing. And it's like Lucy with the football over and over and over and over again. And it's like, when will you learn? And how much do we have to lose
Right. People
for
will say,
you
well,
to
that's
wake
not
up?
logical or that's not going to save money. I'm like,
Right.
again, they don't
They
care.
don't care.
They
Yeah.
don't
Right.
care.
And if Democrats want to get back to being the party of the working people, the working
Mhm.
class, and if they want to get back to being the party of um, anything other than the coastal elite, which
Uppity
unfortunately is,
bullshit.
yeah,
Mhm.
which is unfortunate. And listen, that's the three of us, right?
Yeah,
But if
I
they
mean,
want to,
I'll admit it.
but if they want to get back to actually talking to people, they got to stand for something.
Yeah.
And your idea, Katie, of effectively punishing Disney
Mhm.
is what they should stand for. And I don't, it's not rocket science. You don't need to sit there and have 20,000 discussions over the next 10 hours about, oh my God, these subsidies and should we vote for them because these people are going to pull out? Pull the fuck out. Sorry, Dad. Pull out. Go. Go. And by the way, once if New Jersey does this, it could lead. Maybe New York. I understand. Kind of everybody has to hold hands together.
Yeah.
But then the pressure goes on somebody like a Kathy Hochul to say, Governor, with all due respect,
Yep.
there are other ways to create jobs in New York. You don't need to subsidize Disney. I don't know what that subsidy is for that huge building. I don't know if it's already kind of written in stone and contractually we're obligated to it. But there are other things that they vote for
Yeah.
consistently. Just don't do it.
If it's
No.
us in New York, us being Jersey and New York and California, because I know that the two of you have also talked about how the Don Draper scene in the elevator really is so perfect because we're spending
Yeah.
all this time trying to decipher what they think or spending
Mhm.
so much time about them. And they're like, "Oh, I didn't think about you at all." But also they're fragile. They are
Oh,
fragile.
yes.
And it's like, just try. What is the harm in just actually trying to fight
Yeah.
and see what it takes to get
Yeah.
them to
What's the
pull?
worst that can happen? We can lose. We're already losing. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Let me
It's
let me tell you this. There is nothing that we're going to do that is going to make Republicans happy. Nothing.
Right.
Not one thing.
Chuck Schumer should learn that because he seems to think that strongly worded letters and asking for Donald Trump for meetings with Hakeem Jeffries is going to do the trick, and
Yeah.
it's not. And Katie, you're from New Jersey, like you grew up in New Jersey, right?
I didn't.
You did not. Okay.
No,
Because
Katie's from Missouri, right, Katie?
oh, you are? Oh my
I'm
Like
gosh.
from
like
Sorry. I
like
thought
my
Rutgers
like
when I was
my
Rutgers.
a
like
kid, but
like my
I
boyfriend John Hamm.
that's
Oh,
right. I
right,
almost
right.
mentioned that earlier. We've got
Yeah.
Brad
Mr.
Pitt and
Mr.
John Hamm.
Hayes. Mr. Hazing.
Yeah.
Um,
But
oh
I've
no,
lived
because
in
I was
Jersey now longer than anywhere else. But yes,
okay. So
I've got
you've been there a
family
long time.
across the country, and so I have many exposure, a lot of
Right.
exposure
So
to other people.
the reason I asked is because, I'm from upstate, obviously Julie, you're New Jersey, born and bred, or not born and bred, but mostly
Born.
mostly bred, born elsewhere and then bred in the
I am a
Jersey.
Jersey girl. I will never deny
Yes.
it. Go ahead.
Um, no, I bring that up because, like, again, like we are in this part of the country very uniquely aware, unfortunately, of Donald Trump's history as a human being and a businessman. And this is again that really just blows my mind is like the people of New Jersey
Right.
know better than anybody
Oh my God, he ripped them off
What
nonstop.
right, nonstop. I mean, you want to talk about people losing their jobs. I mean, the
Right.
casinos and, like, what he did to Atlantic City
Yep.
is should be I mean, that should be just, that should have been disqualifying right out the gate, but it's not because we live in a different time now. But, like, and I know Hoboken and Jersey City are, there's a lot of transplants and stuff who live in that part of the state, but does that ever come up in conversations? I mean, people talking about Donald Trump and his history with New Jersey and, like, why are we doing this and why are we allowing this? And
It does, and it did more the first time, because
Mhm.
when I think back to the point if people are trying to rationalize it. Well, he's not even a
Yeah,
good businessman because to your point, we have seen that. We have seen that he's
right.
not a good businessman. He failed multiple casinos and all you hear is, well, he didn't pay his vendors, he didn't pay his lawyers, he
Right.
didn't pay whatever, and now thousands of people are out of work.
Mhm.
Um, but now I think it's a little different
Mm.
because Jersey City and Hoboken are very blue.
Mhm.
And they're very blue, and you get this sense though that I think it's just people are buckling down because they're
Mhm.
afraid, and they're afraid of places that they don't feel like they're gonna be protected, but and are also frankly mad not only at the federal level Democratic Party, but mad at the state's Democratic Party
Mm.
of how do you not see and how are you not doing anything to protect us from what's going on and like what are you waiting for? And so that's
Yeah.
really what I hear a lot.
Mhm.
But we're having a lot of conversations too about like what does the state actually do because folks have just a lot of people have never had to be exposed to it because they have never had somebody knock on their door who is running for
Mm.
state assembly and it's like
That's saying something too, right? I mean, yeah.
and people are like, "Oh, like I'm really embarrassed. I don't even know." I'm like, "Don't be embarrassed. It's fine." And but a lot of the things that you're hearing about in other states that are so bad, whether it's, book bans or kids'
Mhm.
health or whatever it is, reproductive rights, it's like that is the state. That
Yeah.
is the state. And if New Jersey doesn't move on these things, and if we get a Republican governor and then have a Republican president, like
Oh, yeah.
then we're screwed, right? And so there
Yeah.
there really is this sort of kind of rebuilding of understanding where our pinch points even are of where we can make
Mhm.
change.
Yeah.
Well, but it's interesting because, I watched the gubernatorial debate yesterday. I'm
Mhm.
probably the only person from out of state who watched it. I
I
also
watched some of it, yeah, and
Did
it
you really?
was yeah,
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Alright, we're the only 2 people who watched it from out of
yeah.
state. Um, um, I certainly there's not one
I run
undecided.
ads, Julie, so
Yeah,
it's like I have
yeah,
to kinda know what's
yeah.
going on, so
There's
yeah.
there's not one undecided voter who watched it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Which is why I think these debates are kind of a waste of time, and I would not have advised either side. Well, they have to do it because they are getting matching funds, but it's a stupid waste of time. Anyway, I watched the debate, and I've got to say, what I didn't hear from the Democratic nominee is this full throated defense of just going to war. Like we've
Mhm.
just got to go to war, and I'm not hearing that from Kathy Hochul here in my state. And I'm not hearing that certainly from Gretchen Whitmer. I'm certainly not hearing that from the incumbent governor of New Jersey, who's a Democrat right now, Phil Murphy. I'm not really hearing it from Josh Shapiro, somewhat in Pennsylvania, but not much. The people who are saying it are the JB Priskers of the
Mhm.
world. Newsom has had 17 transplants in the last, 9 months, but lately he's been kind of saying the right thing.
Yeah.
And I guess, Katie, like, what's the problem? Because you're saying it, you're not exactly a shrinking violet about it, and I think your attitude is if I lose because I'm saying it, I lose because I'm saying it. But
Yeah.
it's gotta be said, and more importantly, it's gotta be done. I mean, there are
Mhm.
levers that Democratic governors can pull if they join together. The DGA should maybe convene a meeting about this and
Mhm.
stand up to this guy. I mean, it's almost half the country that's controlled by Democratic governors, and the population of the country certainly is controlled by Democratic governors.
I really think that it is that they have not learned their lesson, and then
Yeah.
sometimes it might be the money that comes to them. It might be the kind of old guard of political consultants. I really don't know, because when I think about why New Jersey hasn't passed, New Jersey is controlled by Democrats in every branch of government, why it hasn't passed some of these things that we're talking about. I It's like, okay, are you afraid of losing your race? Are you It's this constant, I think, trying to cater to like a magic undecided voter or magic Republican that
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
They
It's like,
don't
okay,
exist.
well, if I like just don't talk about ICE, or if I just don't talk about reproductive health care, or I'm gonna get these voters. No, you're not. You're not. And in fact, like a story I tell all the time is how, love him or hate him, AOC,
Mhm.
Zoran Mamdani, Andy Kim in State Senator in New Jersey, all very different people. What is the common thread that I saw that really worked well for them? They all won upsets, and they did so primarily because people thought they were real, and people voted for them and for Donald Trump.
Yep.
And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. All of those people's policies are so starkly different than Donald Trump. It's because you may not agree with everything they're saying, but you
Yep.
believed them, and
Yep.
people
Mhm.
thought that they were authentic.
Yep.
And I like, I've got a friend who was talking about, and yes, I am much more progressive and left than some folks, but I've got a friend who's talking about how we're just sort of screwed with Mikey Sherrill right now, because if she wins, they will say, okay, well, exactly, that she won because we couldn't be any more progressive. And if she loses, they'll say, look, we were too progressive.
Oh
And it's
god.
kind of the same thing that's happening with Democrats and Republicans of, well, like, we'll finally find this thing that will make them happy, and then they'll come to the table and we'll have an adult conversation and kumbaya, and we'll all get things done. No, stand up for what you believe, get
There's
something
Yes.
done.
there's no
Constantly apologizing for ourselves and who we are and what we stand for. And listen, I know that the left is not right and we don't operate or think the same, right? But in the rise of the Tea Party and then the rise of MAGA, you didn't see the more establishment Republicans apologizing for anything. They either lost, like Eric Cantor, right? They either lost or they went along and they adapted. Now, that was not good for the world or the country that they did that, but, it's the complete opposite of what the Democrats do. It's just like they're trying to, like, kind of have it both ways, sort of. It's like the Mikey Sherrill thing, right? It's like that she, voted for the resolution for the Charlie Kirk thing, but then turned around and kind of said, "Oh, don't like him." And I'm just like, "Well, which is it?" Because I wonder, and maybe I'm just being, maybe I'm being silly here, but I feel like if she'd just come out forcefully and said one thing or the other in from her core beliefs, from her gut, maybe, like, I don't know, people would have a little bit more respect for that. I know I would.
I had a conversation with a member of Congress, I wanna say right when Trump came in, and this is a member of Congress who's quite progressive, but she represents a district that is, on the one hand, very progressive, on the other hand, there are a lot of older Jewish
Mm,
voters who are very, pro-Israel.
mm,
And she asked me a question, um, and she herself was dying to kinda be very, very, very progressive. Well, progressive is not the word. She was dying to be very pro-Palestinian,
mm,
and kind of really anti, like, much more black and white than I think the situation merits, right?
okay.
And she asked me my advice, and she and I did not agree on the policy and the substance. But I said, "Look, choose a side and go all in,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
And it doesn't matter. Don't worry about your voters because your voters will respect what you think if you say it with conviction."
yeah,
Like, legitimately. I did not even agree with where she was on this issue, um, but I told her to go for it because that's what she believed and that's what she wanted, and I said, "And your Jewish voters, look, either they're gonna vote for you or they're not gonna vote for you, but at least they'll appreciate that you're coming at this from a place of conviction."
mhm,
And she went all in, And great. I mean, I respect it. I may not
Yeah.
agree. Like Zora Mondani is a great example, who, by the way, I saw on the street the other day doing an
Oh,
event.
really? How was
Well,
that?
I was walking by and I was like, "Ooh, he is very
Was he,
interesting."
like, in a crowd of people, or was he just by himself, like, getting
He was
groceries,
standing
or
outside a senior center as I was walking 5 miles to get my car from my garage. Not really 5 miles, but it's quite far. And there was a scrum of people with cameras. I was like, "What's this?" And then I saw, I think it was not Brad Lander. It was, oh God, who's our state senator? It doesn't matter. Um, and I was like, "Huh, okay." And then I saw Mondani and I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was just I guess there was an endorsement happening outside the senior
Okay.
center, but yeah.
That's
Um,
it's just so fun. I just, like, on that point, like, Katie, I'm the day of the primary here, I have a bunch of Columbia kids who live in my building,
Mm.
and, I voted on actual election day. My husband and I were in the elevator. We're coming out, and there was, like, one of the youths was in the elevator with us, and we're like, "Are you voting? Are you gonna vote?" And she was like, "Oh my god, we saw Zoran on Friday. He was out at the bars, like, that, and we all got to shake his hand and the whole thing."
Mhm.
And I was like, "That listen, whether or not I agree with the things that he says always, but I was like, that's the politics of now. That is the
yeah.
politics of now. Like, you have to I get it. Like, I get it. I get why people really, really like him, and the thing is that the Democrats don't seem to be understanding that that is the part that they need to take from him, is the campaign that he is running and has ran, um, via social, digital, and just voter contact, like, one-on-one. He's out in the world talking to people,
Mhm.
and this seems to be very hard for a lot of these people to do. I don't know
Why
why.
why is it so
We
hard?
don't bite, or we shouldn't bite, you know what I mean? Like,
Why is it so hard? Like, I saw Jerry Nadler, who's our Congressman Michelle, who goes to this one particular diner all the time, like, all the time.
oh, I know
Yeah.
which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Mhm,
and I go to that diner every so often to get breakfast, and I remember,
mhm.
like, maybe a year or 2 ago, I was sitting there, and he was there, so I went up to him, and I wanted to thank him for a vote that he took on a bill that was very important to me, and he looked at me like I was going to, like, he was so anxious. I think he thought I don't know if he thought I was gonna pull a knife, like, what, and I'm thinking, "This is not how you talk to voters.
I
Like, it's
know.
just not how you talk to voter like, I am a voter, like, this is not how it works, buddy."
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
and and listen, I'm very grateful to him on the legislation, like the Speak Out Act that I
yeah.
really cared about.
Listen, Jerry's been a good congressman, like,
He
he
was a
has. It's
sponsor,
yeah.
of that bill, and so I'm deeply grateful, will always be grateful to him, but I'm just using that as an example of somebody who just, I think, doesn't connect with voters the way he should. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have abased themselves again by running up to the hill and, by writing a letter to Trump asking for meetings so they could work on the budget together. Like, which part of this is not clear? Which part of this is not clear? He does
Girl.
that's Don Draper. He does not know you, and he doesn't think about you at
Well,
all.
and then he's gonna come, and he's gonna screw you.
And
I
he's
mean,
gonna
like, let's
screw
So
be
you.
real.
embarrassing.
It is
So
so embarrassing.
why are
It's
you
like
writing a letter? Why are you writing a letter? How about you stand up and you say, you know what? We're not voting for this budget. Not one of us is voting for a continuing resolution. You want to get rid of the filibuster, John Thune, to pass this with a majority vote? God bless. You have the power to do that. So this is not on us. But we're not voting for this. So don't blame us. You want to go nuclear. You certainly went nuclear to get federal judges elected. You just went nuclear to get a whole bunch of ambassadors, including Kimberly Guilfoyle, um, like confirmed. Go nuclear. You have the power to do that with a simple majority. You could do that, and then you could pass your budget with a simple majority.
mhm.
Go ahead, and that's your message. I don't understand. They control every lever of government, and yet these Democrats are sitting here having these like Talmudic discussions about, oh my God, are they going to blame us for this? We're going to totally take the blame for this. We can't do this.
To which I'm like, "You're not in
You're
power.
not in
How on
power.
earth could it be you? Like, oh my god, just do like, don't give an inch. Don't."
How about you communicate that you're not in power? Here's a thought. Learn how to fucking communicate. Sorry, dad, but like learn how to do that. It's not hard. And the one thing I have to tell you is after the election last year, I went on CNN and I said basically that without the F word, that they should learn how to communicate. And the clip went viral. It went so viral that like the Today Show ran it. Maureen Dowd talked about it in a column.
Mhm.
And the reason it went viral is clearly that resonates with people's
Yeah,
frustration. Why aren't they listening?
I know. I also
Like,
think CNN should allow more F words because I think it might be a little more watchable and fun maybe if they let Julie say the F word on air. But and the thing is too, it's like, and this is why, Katie, I think you're just so refreshing because you're like a real person who like gives
yes,
a shit about people and gives a shit about the community that you live in. And also you're of a different generation. I mean, like, imagine that, like, making way for younger people to run for office. And I guess this is a very difficult time to feel hopeful about anything, especially trying to get young people to run for office. And I would
Mhm,
just love to know your thoughts and maybe if you have
mhm.
any advice for a young person being like, I want to run for office, but this shit's awful. Is it even going to matter? Like, what would you say to that person?
I get asked stuff like that all the time, and I I decided to do this shortly before the November election,
Mm.
and believe it or not, and Julie was privy to this, I was this close to going to work for the federal government,
Oh my
and
gosh.
thank God I didn't do that, because I would have been fired immediately, but it's a hell of a good coping mechanism. It really is,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the second that happens, like, okay, I am change the things that you can. And
Mhm.
what can we change at the state level to make sure that people in New Jersey are in the best possible shape that they can be? And I also say to young people or folks that are worried, I ask, have you ever been to a city council meeting? And I say, like, politics a lot of the times is a lot more Parks and Rec, is a lot more Veep than House of Cards.
That's so
And
true.
and and I'm like, so you might get a kick out of it. But more importantly, if you are one of the people who shows up at more than, let's say, 2 council meetings, I promise you they will learn your name.
Mhm.
They will learn your name, and you would be shocked at what you can get done if you're like one of the handful of gadflies that shows up at a meeting. Planning board meeting, take your pick. You want to do planning and zoning, city council, school board, whatever it
Yeah.
is, because there's only so many squeaky wheels, but stuff really truly does get done that way, and
Mhm.
they really they really want, think about what we're doing here. People want to make them happy. They want people to listen. They want you to play ball with them. If you show up and talk to your representatives, like, you really truly would be shocked. So
and
that's what I recommend.
it's really
Yeah.
amazing because we started, doing these shows, Michelle and I and, Tara Setmayer and JoJo from Jurors started doing the Saturday morning show, every Saturday at 10. And we didn't know who was gonna show up. And we called it
Mhm.
Coffee and Conversation, and our attitude was like, "Bring a cup of coffee and we'll have a conversation. You go in the chat. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to each other." We have, like, tens of thousands of people now every Saturday doing this for the
Mhm.
reasons that you said, and it's not and there are other shows that have been much more established and artists that get hundreds of thousands of people
Mhm.
watching and joining them. And the reason for that is people are dying. I mean, they are dying for somebody to be in communion with.
Right.
And they're
Mhm.
dying for somebody to actually feel the way that they feel, even people they don't know. It's refreshing. I think people in the chat can probably agree with this. It's refreshing to have people who you don't know who feel the same way that you do. So you understand that there's actually a whole swath of people around the world. Because we have people showing up from Australia all the time. We have people from
Mhm.
England. Like we have
Oh, yeah.
incredible people from Switzerland. Like an incredible number of people all over the world. Some of whom are expats. Some of whom are native to the country that they're from. And like, the world is in horror at what's happening in this country right now. I mean, when we have
Mhm.
people from Sydney, Australia, and Melbourne, Australia, joining us in London, joining us consistently because they are horrified about what is going on in this country, how do politicians in this country not hear that?
I
Like
know.
you're hearing that, Katie, because
Mhm.
it's so self-evident. Like, I don't this is the part, you talked about Democratic consultants and the old guard, like, that's me. I'm an old guard Democratic consultant. How is this not self-evident to my counterparts?
Yeah.
Because it's self-evident to the Republican old guard. They all went full MAGA.
Yeah. I I don't know. It's like I can't I don't want to believe there's something just inherently wrong with, Democrats. They're not getting the message, um, and maybe it's just because it's still working for them, you know?
Mhm.
There's many things have happened in our lives that force changes, and maybe for some folks, they just haven't had to yet, you
Yeah.
know? Like, there are still folks that are it's working for them, whatever advice they're giving, however they're running campaigns, and I think that is what I am optimistic is gonna start changing in New Jersey of, okay, some of these folks were paid a lot of money to come in last place because it's not gonna work. It worked when you controlled everything, when you
Mhm.
controlled who got the nomination and where they were on the ballots, and then you controlled how they voted when they got there. It's a new day. That's not gonna be the case, and so now you might actually have to run a different campaign.
And the reason you won, and I can say this as somebody who was very much, privy to sort of watching what happened, you didn't have a magic formula. You just did what you said. You went and talked to voters, you talked to them about issues they cared about, and the people that you were running against, they were really well funded, but the funding was spent in conveying the same kind of message that was being
Mhm.
conveyed, running the same kind of stale campaign that's been running since well before I got into this 30 years ago. I mean, look, it's the exact same model. And when I got there, people were already saying it's an old model.
Yeah.
And yet it continues to go. And, you know, I always said that Trump was going to inherently change the Democratic Party.
Mm.
I'm surprised it's taking this long. I thought we'd have our own Tea Party type revolution in a good way by now.
Yeah.
And I was never a Bernie Sanders supporter. I was a Hillary supporter the first time. I was a um, whoever he ran, I was a Biden supporter the last time he ran.
Mhm.
But what I'm going to say is he was right about everything. I'm not talking about policy. I'm talking about the way he spoke about things, the way he presented things, the way he connected with voters. And if a 80-something-year-old Jewish man from Brooklyn with a really heavy accent,
With the same message over and over,
with
which,
the
I
same
mean, then
message
again,
over and over,
right.
yeah, who lives in hippie Vermont, which if you go to Burlington, Vermont, you will see Hare Krishnas literally
Oh,
sitting on
yeah.
the
Oh,
street,
yeah.
invited, if that guy can
Yep.
sell out, um, arenas all across the country, if AOC, again,
Mhm.
from Queens, a Latina woman,
Listen, you wanna talk
can
to somebody who broke the machine. I mean, this is where
yeah,
I used to get really pissed off because in the Upper West Side club scene, and why I say club scene, I don't mean I mean, like, the Democratic clubs with all the people who are over the age of 70. They would be like, "You young people, and you young people." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" AOC's shoes are in a museum because of how many doors that she knocked on to beat Joe Crowley. So, like, get the hell out of here. Why don't you pay attention? I was like, and maybe that's part of it too, Katie, is like, it's been working for a lot of these people until it's not going to anymore
it's not
because
Right,
going
not
to.
enough of them have lost primaries,
right, right, and
right?
then I really do think they're going to, or, like, the other thing, we've a lot of Democrats have been talking about how we're bad at communicating, which we are, and or you can remember what Trump's slogans are, and I bet you have
All
to think
right.
for more
Because
than a
'Cause they're
few
written for like
seconds.
4-year-olds. Right.
Exactly, but you know
Well,
what? Everyone can
It
tell you what
works.
Zoran's is of freeze the rent and make buses fast and free.
yeah.
And, like, it's things that people understand, and you live in New York, and, yeah, it's expensive, and it's hard to get around. Like,
Uh-huh.
people understand that. Um, the the youngster thing is I also think going back to the Nadler example, it is yes, it is a scary time, and I think that's why we care so much, a lot of us, is that it is
Mhm.
scary, and we don't want it to be so scary. But also this job is not for everybody. And, I'm not a neurosurgeon. And that is something that you have to try really hard and you have to have a lot of practice and you get it. You don't have to be an elected representative. You
Yeah.
don't. And if you're not willing to adapt or kind of learn new skills or, take the boards every few years like a doctor or a lawyer would have to be, then you don't have to do it anymore. And if
Mm,
you're too afraid to talk to people, like one of the most successful things that I did besides just knock the hell out of the doors was do an ask me anything on Reddit.
mm,
And and I was on there for hours.
yeah.
And people are like, "Well, that's, like, oh, were you nervous?" Well, sure. And it's like coming at you fast and furious, but it was real and
Mhm.
it showed that I wasn't guarded and that I was willing to take tough questions and I could really get into the weeds with people who wanted to be in the weeds. And that is, I think if you're not willing to, just like when we talk about, oh, these Republicans, they won't do a town hall, or you'll see that, well, Democrats, a lot of them are doing the same thing. If you're
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
not willing to be accessible and to talk,
yeah.
then maybe this isn't the job for you.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, you're talking about how Democrats are doing the same thing over and over, and I was watching. So again, I'm not big on cable news. Like, if you know how the sausage is made, you don't necessarily eat the sausage, so I don't watch a lot of cable news.
Like going backstage at Disney World, Julie.
Yeah, exactly, you don't
You're
wanna
never
go
the
back to.
same. You're never
Yeah,
the same.
once you sit down and listen to Scott Jennings in real life, you don't wanna watch him ever again, like, if you're not forced to sit next to him. But because my husband does not feel that way, I am forced to watch a lot of CNN and MSNBC, and I believe it was last Thursday or Friday that Jamie Raskin, who has decided, or maybe bookers have decided, that he's the self-appointed and self-anointed person to represent the Democratic Party on cable news, mainly because his district abuts the NBC and the CNN studios, so it's easy for him to get into
Yeah.
the studios to watch to do this. But he is doing a whole thing about Jimmy Kimmel and how Trump has taken away the right of people to speak freely. And he starts going to this whole thing on CNN or MSNBC, I forgot which one he went on first, how this is George the Third, and George the Third has something called Les Majesté, and I'm like,
What?
oh my, what is
No
this?
one knows what that
And then and
is.
then and then we flip over to CNN, and he's there. He obviously walked across the street or down the
Oh,
street, and now he's at the other place, and he's like, "Oh yes, and there's a thing that George the Third did called," and I said, "I cannot, no,
no,
don't say it, don't
no.
say it." And of course, he's talking about Les Majestés, and it's not the first time I've seen him break out French expressions. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Okay, I know what he's talking about because I love history." Average voters don't need to know what lèse majesté is. They don't need to go through a history lesson. Donald Trump speaks to them at a fourth grade level. I'm not suggesting voters are operating at a fourth grade level, but I'm telling you, somebody who's a consultant who is big on communication,
Yeah.
just because you want to be smart doesn't mean you should be smart. Like, I was like, thank you, Professor Raskin. It's duly noted that you're very smart. Now let's cut the shit and talk to people at their level. Donald
Um,
Trump is taking away people's right to criticize him. That is completely un American. That's the message. Not about George the Third, not about Les Majestés. I mean, like, not about, the rump parliament in the 17th century with Oliver Cromwell. Like, I don't want to hear that shit.
I feel like as an elder millennial who watched a lot of West Wing, like it ruined a lot of us. Like I feel like it just ruined too many people into thinking that that's how things are. Like, it's not that's not real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
we to
If
your
only.
point, if only, if only. I mean, it's I was watching, The American, Presidents the other day. I was like, "Oh, this is so quaint." Um, so retro, to think that, people just be normal, and
Well,
not
you want me to break your heart? As a Gen Xer who worked in Washington while The West Wing was being filmed, or on air, it was never that way. Like,
Oh,
it
I I
it
can
just wasn't,
imagine.
and it just wasn't.
That's why Veep,
Yeah.
to your point, Katie, it's like it's more Veep. It's way more Veep than House of Cards, because and the reason it's so funny is because it's true,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Way more Veep than West Wing.
Yeah.
Way
And
Probably more House of Cards than West Wing.
right,
well, yeah, I
right.
mean, West Wing is like, a joke, compared to what reality is like.
So sad.
And they weren't all backstabbing each other, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, I was taking knives out of my back every single day working on the Hill. I'm like, wow, these people in the White House pretend they're not backstabbing each other. I think not. But it was incredibly absurd for Democrats to speak in ways that Jamie Raskin speaks and then expect a different result.
Yeah.
And if that's who cable news is going to book, it is no surprise to me that A, independent media is taking off,
Mhm.
and B, that people like Katie are taking off because they're actually going to voters and talking to them about what they want to talk about.
Imagine that.
And not giving them a history lesson about, 18th century British politics and the king's prerogative.
Well, and it gives me hope too, because you know, Katie, I know knocking on doors and, going and actually talking to people, Zohran Mamdani doing the same thing, anybody running for office doing that, right? It gives me hope that that still resonates, because in a world where we live so completely online and disassociated and disconnected, at the end of the day, human contact makes the biggest difference in people's lives. And I think that we can't lose sight of that, because
Yeah.
it really is. It makes me feel like, okay, we're not dead yet. Like, as human beings, we're not completely gone. I think it makes all the difference. I think it really does.
Yeah.
It does. People really, of course, you get folks that are cranky
Oh,
or they're
well, yeah,
mad that you're in their building or
right.
whatever. But for every person like that, there's several others that are so happy. Like, "Oh my god, I've never
Mm.
had somebody come to my door,"
Right.
or "I've got these questions for you," or "I'm just so impressed that you even tried
Yeah. And
to
the question is, why hasn't anyone been at their door? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why
Because they
hasn't
haven't had
anyone?
to.
They
Because
haven't had to.
they haven't
Right.
had
And
to.
there's where, like, people are too
Yeah.
comfortable. They're too comfortable because
I
it's
mean,
always been working for them.
when the ballot changed in New Jersey last year, and it changed, to be clear, because the governor of New Jersey arrogantly thought that he could place his wife into a United States Senate seat when Bob Menendez was indicted. And that's how Andy Kim became governor. I mean, that's what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and you know, when that happened and she did not succeed,
Mhm.
despite the fact that she was married to the governor, despite the fact that she's a multimillionaire in her own right, despite the fact that she had the support of every major or county organization, political boss, so on and so forth in New Jersey. When that didn't happen, and a little known congressman named Andy Kim from South Jersey became the United States Senator, which never, ever, ever would have happened in previous years.
Mm,
Every single elected official in New Jersey, and this doesn't apply to New Jersey, this applies to all 50 states, should have woken up and said, oh shit, I got to go meet my voters and I got to
yeah.
become friends with them immediately. And I've got to get to know them and I've got to start talking to them about issues that they care about, not issues that I care about, not
Mhm.
issues that my donors want me to care about, not issues that my pollsters tell me to care about. Listen to them and listen to what they have to say, right? Like in your district, Katie, it's kind of like New York.
Mhm.
It's affordable housing, it's transportation. People
Yep.
can't live there because it's so expensive, because it really is like the fifth borough of Manhattan, sixth borough of
It's so
Manhattan.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and they can't get to their jobs in Manhattan because their commute is a nightmare, as we talked about earlier. It's not rocket science, right? Like we intuited that when you were running, you intuited that before you ever did a poll or anything else, because
Mhm.
you have known your neighbors all these years.
Right.
You have spoken to them as a human being, not as a politician, well before you decided to run.
Right.
And why that's not something, and Donald Trump, to his credit, because I had dinner once with somebody who
No.
was basically with him from the very beginning and then quickly fell out of favor, but was kind of the person who was creating the Donald Trump
Mm.
campaign early on. Donald Trump had not one value that he cared about, but Donald Trump said, what do voters care about?
Yeah.
And they said, I think they want to build a wall with Mexico and they want Mexico to pay for it because of all the quote unquote illegals. Before that, Donald Trump asked his advisors, what do people care about? Oh, you know what? I think Barack Obama, like we see on the chats that Obama, he may not even be a real president because he wasn't born here.
Oh my God.
That's where he went with this. But I
Yeah.
understand. Think about the simplicity of the message. We're going to build a wall, and then the audience starts screaming back, and Mexico is going to pay for it. And he's like, yeah, Mexico is going to pay for it. He understood his voters. He understood what they wanted to hear. Listen, it's disgusting, and it's cynical, and it's resulted in some tragic real-life Berlin 1933 behavior. But that's where that came from originally. He listened to his prospective voters. He listened to what Fox was peddling. He listened to what the Breitbart and all the blogs were peddling, and he became a cipher for it. And I don't want to compare you to him, Katie, because I never would. But the reality is, you listen to your voters. You know what they wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Not what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
And I just and then if you want to do all kinds of fancy messaging, you can. And I think that you will see that if you if it's good. But it really, if I think if you've been part of the community, you've been doing the work, then you already know.
Yeah.
And if you've lost touch with that, then again, like, you don't have to do this job. And
Right.
maybe it's time that you move on. I actually said that all the time when especially during the primary, I would say, I want I want to earn your vote. I want you and thousands of your neighbors to hire me for this job. And if I do a bad job, then you fire me in 2 years. And
Yep.
that's how it should be. And it's not been this, okay, here's who your person is, boop, and it's nothing about them individually. It's just that, like, really truly, you never had a real choice
Right.
before. And you just
Yeah.
got we got.
Julie and I talked to Congresswoman Ballard from Vermont, and she similarly, I mean, and I was like, thank you, Jesus. Somebody else say this too. She said, these seats do not belong to us. They're not ours. I am not the rightful owner of my seat.
That's right.
Like, it belongs to the people. And they hire me and they hire the rest of us. Like, these people who get into these jobs and these seats, that just like, this belongs to me. And I can't do anything to risk that. Not for you, but for me.
Yeah.
And we saw an enormous uptick in my own race, just like you all did with your primary, enormous uptick in voters. And it's like, oh, imagine that. Like, when you have some choices or people get excited about it,
Yep.
then, it's democracy is good for democracy.
Right.
Yeah. So we've kept you here a really long time, and I really appreciate that. But I just want people and I can't believe we have 500 people watching this live, which is amazing. Thank you to everybody, and to
Thank
everybody
you.
who will watch this in a recording. Thank you for watching too. But what I want to just basically convey here is there is a way to do this. There is a way to fight back. I mean, Katie came up; she's not even elected yet. She just won her primary. But when you go to the legislature, which I'm confident you will, you have a proposal already to fight back.
Mm.
But as a private citizen, not even as an elected official yet. And that means that all of us should come up with out of the box ideas to fight back. Now, I love Katie's idea. If you are in any Democratic state, I think you should call your call your governor or your state legislators and tell them that they need to take away whatever subsidies we're giving Disney at the moment. I think that we need to also think about what we expect out of our Democratic politicians, which is not letter writing and not pleading for meetings with people who, again, like Don Draper, don't even think about us, but who are fighting fire with fire. And I think that's important. That's how we protect democracy. And so I'm completely inspired by this conversation because I think all of us have a little bit of a to-do list now.
Mm-hmm.
And Katie, thank you. And Michelle, thank you.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining in
Thank
the
you, Julie and Michelle.
conversation. And thanks, Katie, and good luck
Everyone
to
call
you.
your legislators.
Call your
Yes.
legislators, and if you
Yes.
live in the 32nd legislative district in New Jersey, and you're a voter of any persuasion, you have a wonderful person on the ballot, and Katie, and you should support her. Certainly, don't vote for the. Do you have a Republican running against you, Katie? Or
I
is it?
do. I have Republican challengers. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sometimes that doesn't happen in that part of the state.
I know.
So then even more, get out and vote for Katie and literally get out and vote because even if it's a slay-up election and you know that your side is going to win or your side is going to lose. It doesn't matter. You have to show these people that voting is important because they're trying to take that away next.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
to over 500 of you, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.